The galaxy was wide and endless. For millions of years, alien civilizations rose and fell among the stars. Great councils were formed, empires collapsed, and fleets of strange ships crossed the dark space between suns. On many worlds, life grew into intelligence, and those species were welcomed into the galactic community. But there was one planet, one small blue world, sitting in the far arm of the galaxy, that was noticed but quickly ignored. That planet was Earth. When the galactic explorers first saw it, they scanned its people and wrote simple reports. Primitive. Divided. Violent. Not worth attention. In the records of the Council, Earth was just another world to watch from a distance. The great alien races believed humans would destroy themselves before they ever touched the stars. And so, Earth was left alone. For centuries, the galaxy moved forward without the humans. The Council argued over trade. Empires fought small wars. Powerful species grew stronger while weak ones begged for protection. But Earth stayed hidden in silence. Yet the silence was not empty. On that small blue world, humanity faced endless struggle. They fought terrible wars, sometimes almost destroying themselves. They battled hunger, disease, and disasters that could have wiped them out. The galaxy thought humans were weak, but in truth, every challenge made them stronger. With each war, they built new weapons. With each crisis, they found new ways to survive. Pain was their teacher. Still, the Council never came back to check. Why should they? To them, Earth was nothing. But something was happening that no alien could see. Humanity was moving faster than anyone expected. Technology grew at an impossible speed. Machines flew higher, ships reached farther, and minds opened to secrets of the universe. Humans began to dream of stars, not just as lights in the sky, but as homes they would one day touch. Then came the first signals. Humanity had learned to speak into the void. Their radio waves and broadcasts spread like whispers across space. Some alien scouts heard them. They laughed. "They are still playing with toys," the aliens said. "It will take them thousands of years to reach us." And again, Earth was ignored. But humans did not stop. Year after year, their rockets grew stronger. Satellites circled their world. Machines landed on their moon, then on other planets. Wars still came, but this time they pushed humanity to unite. Rival nations discovered it was better to build together than to burn apart. The galaxy still looked away. But Earth was no longer the same. In secret shipyards, humans tested engines that could bend space. They built weapons that could shatter entire fleets. And above all, they built a will to survive no alien mind could understand. Because unlike the other races, humans knew fear. They had lived close to extinction many times. They had looked into the abyss and walked back alive. This gave them something more dangerous than technology. It gave them hunger. And hunger always grows. One day, far beyond Earth, the galaxy shook with war. A new empire rose in the dark, a brutal force that crushed everything in its path. Planet after planet fell. Entire species vanished under their fire. The Council called for aid, but their allies were too weak. Fleets burned, worlds died, and hope began to fade. The galaxy cried out for saviors. But none came. Until strange ships appeared at the edge of battle. They were not sleek like the alien vessels. They were heavy, steel-grey, with designs the Council had never seen before. Their engines glowed with a strange light, and their weapons hummed with energy that felt ancient yet terrifyingly new. The Council scanned the ships and froze. Earth. Impossible. It had been too soon, far too soon. Humans should still be crawling across their own solar system, barely reaching the nearest stars. Yet here they were, arriving with war fleets. The first human dreadnought turned its cannons toward the enemy. Silence filled the void. Then, with a thunder that echoed even through the vacuum of space, the weapon fired. Energy tore through enemy shields as if they were made of paper. The invincible empire suddenly staggered. The Council races watched in horror and awe. The humans had arrived. But they had not come to beg. They had not come to ask for a seat at the table. They had come with power. They had come with fire. And as their ships advanced, one truth spread across the galaxy. The planet once forgotten had returned. The humans the Council ignored were no longer weak. They had become something the galaxy could not stop. They had become the nightmare no one had prepared for. The war in the galaxy had reached its darkest hour. The enemy empire, known only as the Dominion, spread like a storm of fire. Their fleets were endless, their soldiers merciless. They moved from system to system, crushing every defense, leaving only ruins behind. Entire species surrendered, but it did not matter. The Dominion never accepted peace. They only knew conquest. The Council's fleets tried to resist, but they were no match. Their ships were fast and elegant, but fragile. Their commanders were wise, but predictable. Battle after battle, the Dominion broke them. Soon, even the great races of the Council began to lose hope. Their messages of distress echoed across the stars. They begged for allies, but none answered. Until one day, the silence broke. On the edge of a dying system, the Council fleet prepared for its last stand. Enemy warships filled the sky like a swarm of shadows. The Council's admirals whispered to one another, knowing they would not survive. Then, their sensors picked up something strange. A group of unknown ships had entered the system. At first, the Council thought they were more enemy reinforcements. But no, these ships were different. Their design was nothing like the Dominion, or even like the Council fleets. They were larger, heavier, with steel-grey armor that looked ancient, almost crude. Yet the readings showed something terrifying. The weapons on those ships carried more power than anything the Council had ever seen. The admirals stared in disbelief. One word appeared on their screens. A name. Earth. For a moment, the Council commanders thought it was a mistake. Earth. That forgotten world. That primitive species that had been left out of history? Impossible. They should not have been here. They should not have even reached the stars. And yet, here they were. The Dominion did not hesitate. They turned their weapons on the newcomers and fired. Beams of deadly energy raced across space. But then something happened that stunned everyone. The human ships did not fall. Their shields, thicker and brighter than anything seen before, absorbed the attacks. And then, with a deep hum that shook the silence of the void, the first human dreadnought returned fire. A single blast tore through a Dominion cruiser. The alien vessel split in half, exploding into burning fragments. The Council fleets, who had fought for years and failed, watched in shock. The Dominion had never fallen so quickly. More human ships joined the battle. Their weapons fired in brutal rhythm, each strike precise and devastating. They moved with strange tactics, not elegant but ruthless. Instead of retreating under fire, they pressed forward, closing distance, striking again and again until their enemies burned. The Dominion, once feared as unstoppable, began to falter. The Council admirals whispered to themselves. How can this be? How did humans rise so fast? How did they build such power in silence? No one had answers. But the humans did not stop to explain. Their ships ignored the Council, speaking only in short encrypted messages to each other. They moved as if this was their war, not the Council's. Their soldiers boarded enemy vessels with a fury the galaxy had never seen. In close combat, humans fought like predators, striking with speed and strength that terrified even the Dominion. On one Dominion flagship, a human squad forced their way inside. The alien commander, armored in black steel, had crushed dozens of worlds. He laughed when he saw the humans, small and fragile compared to his towering form. But the humans did not run. They moved together, every step calm, every weapon aimed with perfect discipline. The fight was short. The Dominion commander fell, silent and broken. Back in space, the battle shifted completely. Dominion fleets began to retreat. For the first time in the war, they faced an enemy they could not overwhelm. The humans had turned the impossible into reality. When the last Dominion ships jumped into hyperspace, the battlefield went silent. Wreckage floated across the stars. The Council fleet, battered and broken, stared at the survivors. And among them, the human ships stood tall, glowing like steel titans. A Council admiral finally sent a message. His voice trembled. Humans of Earth, we thank you. You have saved us. The reply came, short and cold. We did not come to save you. We came to fight. Then the human fleet turned and left, vanishing into the darkness of space. The Council ships remained behind, their crews whispering in fear. They had been rescued, yes, but the way the humans fought, the way they spoke, it felt less like salvation and more like a warning. The galaxy had ignored Earth. Now Earth had returned. And no one knew if humanity was their savior or their next nightmare. The galaxy could not understand. How had Earth done it? How had a forgotten, primitive world created warships that could challenge the Dominion, the strongest empire in known space? The Council asked these questions again and again, but no answers came. The humans stayed silent, their fleets moving through the stars like ghosts, striking the Dominion and then vanishing without explanation. Behind every whisper, behind every unanswered question, one truth began to rise: humanity's power was not an accident. It was the result of something the galaxy had never seen before. The secret of Earth's rise began long ago, when the galaxy had turned its back. When alien scouts first visited Earth, they saw a world divided. Nations fought endless wars. Borders shifted with blood. Weapons grew more powerful with each generation. The scouts judged quickly. They wrote, "Humans are too violent. They will destroy themselves." But that judgment was their greatest mistake. Because war did not destroy humanity. It forged them. Every time humans came close to extinction, they clawed their way back stronger. Plagues wiped out millions, yet cures and vaccines soon followed. Natural disasters shattered cities, yet humans rebuilt them higher than before. Even when their own weapons killed millions, humanity learned, adapted, and pressed forward. Where other species in the galaxy feared death, humans lived with it daily. Where others avoided risk, humans embraced it. To them, survival was not a gift, it was a constant fight. The real turning point came in the 21st century. While the galaxy ignored them, humanity reached for the stars. Rockets broke free of Earth's atmosphere. Satellites circled their planet. Machines touched their moon. These first steps looked small to outsiders, but for humans, they were only the beginning. They built space stations, then colonies on distant worlds in their solar system. Their machines dug through alien soil, searching for resources. Their scientists discovered new materials, new engines, new ways to travel faster than ever before. And then came the wars of the future. Earth was never at peace. Even in the age of space travel, nations clashed. Armies fought not only on land, but in orbit, with satellites and ships as weapons. The wars were brutal. Billions feared the end. But instead of falling apart, humanity was pushed to unite. Rivals realized they could not win alone. They had to cooperate, or they would all die together. That was how the first United Earth Fleet was born. In secret, humanity began to build what no alien had imagined: warships designed for survival in the harshest battles. Unlike the elegant ships of the Council, human vessels were built like fortresses: thick armor, redundant systems, brutal weapons. They were not beautiful, but they were nearly impossible to destroy. Humans did not search for the Council. They did not try to join the galaxy. Instead, they prepared in silence, believing that one day, someone, or something, would come for them. They were right. Hidden shipyards were built around moons and asteroids. Entire planets in their solar system were turned into factories. Slowly, humanity's technology raced forward. They cracked the secret of faster-than-light travel. They built dreadnoughts larger than cities. And all the while, the galaxy continued to ignore them. By the time the Dominion rose, Earth had already prepared for a war the galaxy didn't even know was coming. But it wasn't just technology that gave humans their strength. It was their minds. Alien commanders could not understand human tactics. To them, war was a careful game of calculation and order. But humans had been fighting for survival since their birth. They knew chaos. They knew fear. And they knew how to turn both into weapons. Where other species hesitated, humans charged. Where others retreated, humans endured. They fought with creativity, with desperation, with a will to win that no strategy could predict. The Dominion learned this in blood. On one destroyed world, an alien counselor stood among the ruins, speaking quietly to his guards. "We believed humans were fragile. But they are not. They are a storm wrapped in flesh." His words spread, whispered from fleet to fleet. Stories began to grow. Stories of human soldiers who fought even when wounded, who refused to surrender even when surrounded. Stories of ships that kept firing even as they burned. Stories of commanders who turned hopeless battles into victories through sheer stubbornness. And with each story, the galaxy's fear grew. Yet humanity had its own reasons. They remembered the day they were ignored. The day the galaxy looked at them and decided they were worthless. To humans, that was not a dismissal, it was a challenge. "You think we are weak? Watch us rise." That thought became their silent oath. Generation after generation, they worked not only to survive, but to prove the galaxy wrong. And now, when the Dominion threatened all life, Earth did not come as a desperate ally. They came as warriors forged by centuries of pain. In the dark of space, the human fleets gathered again. Their commanders looked out at the stars, knowing the truth: this was only the beginning. The Dominion was powerful, but they had never faced an enemy like Earth. The galaxy had ignored humanity. But now, they would learn what humans could do. The Dominion had ruled with terror for centuries. Worlds burned, fleets fell, and no one dared resist. But after the humans arrived, everything changed. Battles that once seemed hopeless now ended with Dominion ships in flames. Systems that had been conquered began to rise again, whispering of freedom. For the first time in memory, the galaxy saw the Dominion retreat. And with that retreat came something new. Something the Council did not expect. Fear. Not only fear of the Dominion, but fear of Earth. Everywhere the human fleets fought, rumors followed. Soldiers from the Council whispered of battles where humans fought like machines, never stopping, never surrendering. Dominion survivors told stories of human ships that kept firing even as they broke apart. They said human soldiers did not fear death, that they laughed in the face of impossible odds. Some said humans were not a species at all, but monsters wearing flesh. Others whispered darker things, that perhaps Earth had been hidden on purpose, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The galaxy began to ask, were humans saviors, or something worse? One battle above the world of Asteron added to the whispers. The Dominion had laid siege to the planet for weeks. The Council fleet had been too weak to help. But then, a human strike force appeared out of nowhere. They did not ask for permission. They did not wait for reinforcements. They charged directly into the Dominion armada. The sky burned. Human dreadnoughts plowed through enemy fire, their thick armor deflecting blows that would have destroyed alien ships. Fighters swarmed like angry wasps, tearing into enemy formations. Boarding pods slammed into Dominion vessels, unleashing soldiers armed with brutal weapons. The battle was short, but the destruction was total. Dozens of Dominion ships fell in hours. When the smoke cleared, Asteron was free. The Council fleet, which had stayed far behind, moved in cautiously. Their admiral sent a message of thanks. The human commander replied with only 6 words. "Hold your world. We move on." Then the fleet left, vanishing into hyperspace before the Council could ask more. That night, the people of Asteron celebrated their survival. But their leaders whispered in fear. Why had the humans come? Why had they saved Asteron? And why had they left so quickly, without asking for reward or alliance? It was almost as if the humans were fighting their own war, one that had nothing to do with the Council. Across the stars, more rumors spread. On the world of Alira, survivors said they saw human soldiers remove their helmets after a battle. Their faces were pale and their eyes burned with fire. To the frightened aliens, those eyes looked less like flesh and more like storms of rage. On the colony of Vera, children whispered that humans could not be killed, that even when shot, they kept moving, kept fighting, as if pain itself could not touch them. Every story grew, exaggerated by fear. And soon, across the galaxy, one phrase began to circulate in secret. The humans are worse than the Dominion. The Council gathered in great halls to discuss. Some argued the humans were a gift, a last hope against the Dominion. But others spoke with shaking voices. They fight like demons, one elder said. They will defeat the Dominion, yes, but what happens after? Will they turn on us? No one answered. Because deep inside, many believed it was possible. Meanwhile, the Dominion began to fear something they had never feared before. Defeat. They tried to study human tactics, but nothing made sense. Humans did not fight like the other races. They fought with chaos, with unpredictability, turning disorder into strategy. Dominion commanders who had crushed countless armies suddenly found themselves outmaneuvered by enemies who seemed reckless, yet always won. To the Dominion, humans were not warriors. They were predators. One Dominion captain, captured after a battle, spat these words at his council interrogators. You call them allies. You are fools. The humans are not here to save you. They are here to conquer us all. They just haven't decided when. Those words spread like fire. And though many dismissed them, none could fully ignore them. Back on Earth, human leaders remained silent. They sent no diplomats to the Council. They made no speeches, no demands. Their fleets simply moved from one battle to the next, leaving only destruction in their path. This silence only fed the fear. Because when an enemy speaks, you can understand their intentions. But when an ally says nothing, you cannot know if they are friend or future master. And so, across the galaxy, fear spread. Fear of the Dominion, yes. But now, even more than that, fear of Earth. The forgotten planet had risen from the shadows. The humans had proven themselves stronger than anyone imagined. And the galaxy realized a terrible truth. The Dominion might be defeated, but humanity would remain. And no one knew what humanity would do once the war was won. The war had dragged on for years. The Dominion still pushed forward, even as human fleets cut through their lines. Worlds were freed, but many more still burned. The Council was close to collapse. Their capital world, Arcanis, stood as the last great stronghold. If it fell, the Dominion would rule the galaxy. Every race prepared for the end. The skies above Arcanis filled with thousands of enemy warships. The Council gathered their remaining fleets, broken and weak, but it would not be enough. The Dominion's armada was simply too large. And then, the humans arrived. They came in silence. First one fleet, then another, then another. Dozens of human dreadnoughts, each larger than a city, dropped out of hyperspace. Behind them came carriers, cruisers, and destroyers, black shapes against the stars. Their hulls glowed with strange marks, symbols no alien could read. The Council stared in awe. Never before had so many human ships gathered in one place. It was not just a fleet, it was an invasion force. The Dominion's commanders hesitated for the first time. Their sensors screamed warnings. The human fleet carried enough firepower to destroy entire worlds. And then the battle began. The Dominion struck first. Waves of enemy fighters poured forward, weapons flashing. Beams of plasma and energy tore across the void. Entire council ships exploded in seconds. But the humans did not scatter. Their dreadnoughts advanced in formation, slow and steady, shields glowing like suns. Enemy fire crashed against them, but their armor held. Then their cannons fired. The darkness lit up. Energy beams as wide as towers ripped through Dominion warships. Missiles launched in clouds, hunting their targets like wolves. Boarding pods shot forward, slamming into enemy vessels with brutal precision. The Dominion's fleet began to break. Yet the enemy was still vast. For every ship destroyed, another took its place. The Council commanders cried out in despair, convinced even the humans could not hold forever. But then, the humans revealed their true weapon. From deep within their fleet, massive shapes emerged. They were not ships as the galaxy understood them. They were fortresses, old orbital stations, rebuilt and armed for war. Each one carried enough guns to equal an entire fleet. The galaxy had never seen such monsters. The first fortress opened fire. Dozens of Dominion cruisers vanished in seconds. The second unleashed a storm of missiles that turned the night into fire. The third launched entire squadrons of fighters, filling space with swarms of steel. The Dominion armada faltered. Their commanders shouted in panic. No strategy could withstand such power. On the ground below, the people of Arcanis watched the sky burn. 4 days they had prepared for death. Now they saw hope. Human dreadnoughts shone above them, shields blazing, protecting the planet from destruction. Children pointed and cheered. Elders whispered prayers. For the first time in years, the Dominion was not unstoppable. But in the council chambers, fear grew stronger. One elder turned to another and whispered, "If the humans can build such weapons, what will stop them when the Dominion is gone?" No answer came. High above, the battle reached its climax. The Dominion launched their super dreadnought, a ship larger than any the Council had ever seen. It moved like a mountain through space, its cannons able to shatter entire fleets. The human commander gave only one order: engage. 3 human fortresses turned as one. Their weapons fired in unison. The Dominion's super dreadnought shook, shields collapsing, armor tearing. It tried to strike back, but human ships swarmed around it, pouring fire into its broken hull. With a final blast, the monster ship exploded, lighting the sky brighter than a star. The Dominion armada broke. Ships turned and fled into hyperspace. The great siege of Arcanis was over. On the surface, celebrations erupted. The Council declared victory, praising their human allies. But their voices trembled with unease. For though the Dominion had been defeated, the humans had shown something terrifying. They had not only saved the capital world. They had shown the galaxy that they alone carried the power to decide battles, to shape wars, to change destiny. And they had done it without asking for permission, without asking for alliance. They had come, they had fought, and they had won. When the human fleet prepared to leave, a council envoy sent a final message. "You have saved us. The galaxy owes you everything." The human commander replied with cold words that silenced the chamber. We did not fight for you. We fought because we must. The galaxy will remember that." And with that, the human fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving the Council staring at empty skies. The Dominion had been broken. But so too had the balance of the galaxy. For now, everyone understood the truth. The Forgotten Planet had become the greatest military power in existence. And if humanity chose to rise higher, no one could stop them. The Dominion was broken. Their fleet scattered, their empire burning. Across the stars, worlds that had lived in fear now raised their banners in freedom. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy could breathe. But in the silence after war, a new question spread. What would the humans do now? On Arcanis, the Council gathered in their great hall. Leaders of dozens of species sat in silence, their voices trembling. They had expected to die in the siege. Instead, they had been saved. Saved not by their own fleets, not by their ancient allies, but by the forgotten world they had once ignored. Humans. The councillors spoke quietly. We must thank them. We must reward them. We must invite them to join us. But beneath their words lay fear. If humanity refused to join, if they chose to stand apart, what would happen to the fragile galaxy? If they demanded more, who could stop them? The answer came soon. A signal spread across every major system. Not from the Council. Not from the old powers. From Earth. The broadcast was simple. A single human appeared on the screen. He wore no crown, no shining robes, only the uniform of a soldier. His eyes were steady, his voice calm. "People of the galaxy," he said. "You ignored Earth. You called us weak. You left us alone to struggle, to suffer, to bleed. And we survived. We did more than survive, we rose. The Dominion thought you easy prey. They thought the galaxy weak. And they were right. But when we came, we turned the tide. We fought because we had to. We fought because no one else could. Now the Dominion is broken. But remember this, we are not your servants. We are not your tools. We are not your forgotten cousins. We are humanity. And from this day forward, you will respect us." The broadcast ended. The galaxy erupted in chaos. Some cheered. Freed worlds praised the humans as saviors, as heroes who had ended centuries of fear. Statues were raised in their honor, songs sung in their name. But others trembled. Alien leaders whispered in fear. They did not ask. They did not negotiate. They declared. To them, humanity's word sounded less like victory and more like conquest. Meanwhile, the human fleets did not stop. They spread across the stars, not to invade, but to patrol. Wherever Dominion survivors tried to rebuild, humanity crushed them without mercy. Wherever pirates or slavers tried to take advantage of the chaos, human warships appeared, bringing swift judgment. But the galaxy could not ignore what came next. The humans began building. Not only ships, but stations, giant fortresses in orbit around key worlds. They claimed systems no one had wanted before, empty and dangerous, and turned them into strongholds. Every move sent the same message: humanity was here to stay. On one council world, a nervous delegate spoke in private. They fight like predators. They build like conquerors. And yet, they call themselves protectors. Which one is true? His companion whispered back. Perhaps they are both. The final meeting between humanity and the council came months later. The chamber was filled with tension as human representatives entered for the first time. The aliens stared at them, tall, scarred, carrying themselves like warriors who had survived endless storms. The council speaker rose. "Humans of Earth," he said, voice shaking. "You have saved us all. We welcome you to the council. Take your seat among us." The human commander looked around the hall. His words were sharp and cold. "We will sit here, yes. But not as beggars. Not as forgotten. We will sit as equals. And you will listen when we speak. The age of ignoring Earth is over." No one dared argue. That day, humanity took its place among the stars. Not as the weakest race. Not as the youngest. But as the power that had ended the Dominion, the power no one could ignore. Children on distant worlds whispered stories of the humans, the warriors who came from a forgotten blue planet, who fought like storms, who burned brighter than any empire before. And in secret, leaders across the galaxy admitted the truth to themselves. The Dominion was gone. But in its place stood something far more dangerous. Humanity. Yet among the humans themselves, the story was different. On Earth, in the cities rebuilt stronger than ever, in the colonies spread across the stars, people spoke not of conquest, but of survival. They remembered the centuries of being ignored, of being underestimated. And they swore they would never be ignored again. Because humanity had learned the oldest lesson of all. Respect is not given. It is taken. And so, as the galaxy looked to the future, they understood one final truth. The humans they once dismissed as primitive had become the guardians of the stars, or perhaps their future rulers. Either way, the galaxy would never be the same. The forgotten planet had risen. The nightmare had come true. And the age of humanity had begun.